Everyone, welcome back. I hope you're all okay. So I'm using a square cookie cutter and I'm doing an open cup technique. But there's a few twists and turns as I go through this process, and as the creation develops, I inject a different technique, not once, but twice. And some of you may be shouting at me throughout the process to say, stop, don't tweak it anymore, don't ruin it. But as an artist, when I'm going through that creative process, if I'm not really happy about something, I try and change it as I go. But I don't really get too caught up on what that final design is going to look like. I sometimes just go with my gut feeling and get lost in the moment of creativity. So I'm starting off by putting some paint down on my canvas, putting the square cookie cutter on top of the paint that's now on the surface, and I'm basically filling up that cookie cutter with different metallic colours. So I've got a copper, a gold, a bronze, and as you can see, my base colour is grey. I've also got a silver that I'm just adding now. And what I do is I just pile in and layer those colours one on top of the other. And you'll see how this creation develops. But remember, I do switch it up and I do change techniques, and I can't wait for you to see the finished design. It's a real evolving piece, and it just proves that if you stick it out, you can really change your creation if you're not happy with it, and that's totally okay. Some of us just swipe and remove all the paint from the canvas and start again, but you don't always have to do that. So the technique that you're seeing me do now with the open cup is more about preparing a background colour, because there's two further techniques that I do that will really enhance and embellish what you see now. So let's see how this develops. So I'm basically just moving the paint around the canvas. I'm going to take my cookie cutter off in a minute and then just see what kind of design I can create on that surface. So let me remove that now. There we go, one clean lift, that's really good. I'm just using my torch to get rid of any air bubbles and to encourage any cells to come through from the base to the surface. So I'm just picking up my canvas, getting a feel for the paint, seeing how it moves. And what I will do is I will add some more paint, some more base paint, so that the design on top doesn't roll over on itself, and the base paint will help the paint basically glide. So the creation that you can see now, that the pattern that's there, I've added a little bit more grey on the base, because when I tilt, it will help the flow of that creation on top. It won't necessarily allow that creation and that pattern to roll over on itself. And that's the whole point sometimes of using a base coat. So I'm going to continue just stretching out this design to see what kind of composition and what pattern I can create. But as you know, I'm doing a voiceover, so I know how this now turns out. And this piece really changes. You're going to want to see what I do. I'm really happy with it. It continues a series that I've been doing before, but also with some embellishments. But let me show you the close-up of this. And it was really at this point that, although I loved this design and the pattern that's created, it almost reminds me of what I would imagine life on Mars to be like. But I didn't want to just leave it there. So I thought, well, why not use this design as a base colour and a base design to do another design on top? So let's see what I do now. So I've been doing a lot of swipes recently using my embroidery hoops. So I'm going to use my embroidery hoop this time, but instead of layering paint around the outside of the hoop, I'm going to lay the block colour of grey that I've used on my base directly in the middle of the hoop. So I'm basically going to fill the middle of that hoop up with some of the grey. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some dry paper towels and I'm going to swipe from the centre to the outer edge. So as I lift my hoop up, I manage to create a clean circle. And that's great, but if it wasn't a clean circle, that really doesn't matter because you can always tweak it as you swipe. So when I swipe, I basically put my dry paper towel in the middle where I've layered the grey. I place it down on top of the paint. I don't press too hard and I just allow that paper towel to glide over the surface of the paint, and it pulls the paint from the centre to the edge. You don't have to have clean swipes. I really do like how there's a gradient of swipe as I do swipe. And having that base down already, having all those different kind of textures and patterns and designs is already making this look 3D. So you may have seen some of my previous creations when I've been swiping. So I use a paper towel, and what I do is as I work around the circle, I reduce the width of the paper towel. So I'm just doing quite a wide width now of that paper towel, and I'm going to do that all the way around the edge. And then I will reduce the width of the paper towel, and that's what's going to create more of a 3D look that has a look at the movement of the piece and the 3D effectiveness of that piece. So I'm just going to continue to swipe now, and let's see how it evolves. Okay, so I definitely like this much better than the design before. But I'm also very conscious that there's quite a dull grey middle to this piece. And that's okay. You know, I could stop now and go, well, this is the finished creation. But some of you have said to me when I've been doing my swipes and my starbursts about doing an embellishment in the middle of the piece. And that was such a great idea. So thank you for all of you that have shared that idea with me. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my copper colour and I'm going to take a stencil and I'm going to put a mandala in the middle of that piece. I'm using some gloss gel by Pebeo Studios, and I'm going to mix in the copper colour by Pebeo, and I'm going to then take that and spread it over the stencil. I'm using a gloss gel because I want to create a different texture in the middle. I could just use paint and paint over the stencil and it would be a very flat kind of surface, a very flat look. But the idea with using the gel is to create more of a glossy middle and to allow me to create some textures using that medium. This is the bit that I need to be really careful with. I'm just going to slowly unpick my tape and I'm going to gently lift the stencil from the base of the canvas. And that gel and that paint combined does stick that stencil to the base. But if you slowly lift it in one direction, you should be able to achieve a clean sweep. And what I'll do now is I'll take you in for a closer look so you can see that design. And I'm really happy that I chose the copper because I think that really brightens up the middle of this creation. And I'm just so proud on how this creation has evolved by using various techniques to get this finished piece. I just wanted to show you what it looks like hung on my wall. I haven't yet varnished this piece. I will use a spray varnish, a gloss varnish by Winsor & Newton, and that's how I finish off all of my pieces. I apologise for the shadows that you can see, but this should give you a good overview of all those different textures and all those different patterns that we created along the way of this process, from the base and then the starburst and then the embellishment. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy this one, and if you try this too, tag me in your post. I'd love to see what you create, and there's some more of these coming up with some twists and turns, so I hope you'll enjoy those and stick with me. Thanks everyone, have a great week, take care of yourselves, be kind to each other, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.